4:30. Starting with Mr. Bacon, roll.
Bacon present.
Fig present.
Kikwan present.
Milky here.
Sweet present.
Seeing a quorum present, go on to item 3, approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Fig, support by Sweet to approve today's agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Just-
opposed, the same.
Just wanted, I need to leave at 5:15, so if we have any voting issues,
I think we'll.
we'll be, I think we
we'll
should be
done.
fine, but just,
Motion's approved, agenda's approved. Moving on to item 4, approval of meeting minutes.
move to approve the meeting minutes from February 21st as presented.
Motion by Sweet,
Second.
support by Milky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Minutes are approved. Going on to item 5. Looks like we have a resignation letter from Cheryl Hunter. Which I wish she would have talked to us before she sent the letter, but, I mean, I can see her missing some winter, as long as she picks it up in the summer, just to bail out, well. But, she wants out, suppose we make a motion to accept the resignation letter? Is the course of business?
I'll move to accept the letter.
Got a motion by Sweet,
Support.
support by Bacon, to accept Cheryl Hunter's February 21st, 2023 letter of resignation from the board. Question?
No, I just wanted to thank her for many years of service on this board, and I understand why she gave it to us. I agree with your sentiment that it would have been nice to hear from her on it, but having said that, I just wanted to thank her publicly for her service.
I would agree. Thank you.
Yep, good words. Maybe we can put a sentence in the minutes about that. Okay, we had a motion by Sweet, support by Bacon to accept the letter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the motion is approved. Moving on to item 6, public comment. Have anybody online? Do you have any new instructions with this hybrid meeting instructions? What's that about? Same thing? Okay. And we'll move on to item 7, the reports. Accounts payable.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Sure.
Good afternoon.
Start with the accounts payable for the East DDA. We have a payment to Consumers Energy for $682.41. That's for the streetlights on Pickard. And then we have a payment to Doug Small Engine for snow plowing in February. That's for $2,800. And then we have a payment to MMI for maintenance, cleanup, trash receptacle, cleanup along Pickard. And that's for $246 for the month of February. So we have an accounts payable total for the East DDA of $3,728.41. Are there any questions?
A motion to approve the payables for the East DDA.
Second?
Got a motion by Melky, support by Sweet, to approve the East DDA check register. Hearing no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. And motion is approved.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the West DDA, we just have one payment to Doug Small Engine for $2,000. This is for sidewalk snow plowing along High Street M20. And we just have the one check to approve for $2,000.
Make a motion with, we approve the check register for the West DDA as presented.
Second?
Motion by Fig, support by Sweet, question by Melky.
You said High Street, so that does not include Lincoln at all?
It does.
It does,
It
okay.
does.
I was thinking it did and I heard high.
Sorry, I left
No,
that out.
it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Wait, let me
Is that
finish
all
my
the
motion.
questions?
So we had a motion by Fig, support by Sweet. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Hearing no opposition, motion is approved for the West. So now we can go on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the East DDA revenue and expenditure report. There's not a lot of change. In the revenue area, we have some interest posted for February. And then the payables that you just approved are posted in the expenditure area. So our revenues are at about 1% of budget, and then the expenditures at this time are at about 8% of budget. Or excuse me, that's also 1% of budget. And then moving on to the.
Question, Sherry, on the,
Yes.
on the state aid for East DDA, revenue, LCSA, for $60,000.
Yes.
Where is that generated for, and what is the acronym that's
Well,
listing?
LCSA is the Local Communities Stabilization Authority, and that is set up to help distribute funding for lost personal property tax. We file a report with the state of Michigan every year. It's due June 15th, and when we do that, we try to recoup money lost due to the change in the law for the personal property. Because a lot of it's done at the state level now.
So that is what we tend to get, or how do you determine the 60,000?
I determined that based on, what we've received past years. And so the hope is that's what it will be, 60,000. I will know more once we work on the report. It's quite a lengthy report that we work on for the East and the West, that we turn into the state in June, and then we receive that funding in November every year. Yeah. And the state determines it based on how much money they have to work with. It could be less, it could be more. It depends how many people file for it and how much money they have to work with.
Okay.
So it's a guess.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Are there any other questions on the revenue and expenditure report? If not, I'll move on to the balance sheet for the East DDA. The total assets are a little over 1.8 million, and then your ending fund balance at this point in time is projected to be about 1.8 million. Are there any questions on any of the detail on the balance sheet for the East DDA? Okay, moving on to the West DDA. Let's look at the revenue and expenditure report. So, in the revenue area right now, we just have the interest earned. We also posted some additional interest earned there for the month of February. And, the check for the sidewalk snow plowing, the $2,000, the expenditure is entered here on the appropriate line item. So as far as the budget goes, we're not really, we don't have a whole lot going on in winter and January and February. So there's not a lot of change here. Are there any questions on the West DDA? Revenue and expenditure report?
So why don't we have the state aid revenue, the else on the west side?
That's a good question. Most years when we fill out that form and it doesn't get submitted because it ends up with a 0. Last year we did receive about $300 in that area, but I didn't put it in the budget because I expect it to be very minimal or
Sure.
0.
Yeah, I remember, sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't.
Right,
You know, so.
right, and it's small. If we do get it, it's small, so. If I do find out, in June that we're applying for something there, we can amend the budget.
Sure.
Okay, moving on to the West DDA balance sheet. Right now, there's a little over $800,000 in total assets, and the ending fund balance is, as of February 28th, would be a little over $800,000. The fiscal year has not been closed yet, so that's why you see a little bit of extra, You start with the beginning fund balance in 2022, and you see a lot of different adjustments here. And that's for the year end 2022. Are there any other questions on any of the financials?
Just a general question, kind of related to both districts. With regards to property taxes, what we saw is a 5% increase across basically the state of Michigan because of cost of living and the CPI. So I'm assuming, the township itself only actually captured 1 mil, but being that the DDAs capture a larger share, I'm assuming that's going to be really quite a boost this next year.
For the budget, I estimated about 5%. I did a little.
You did it that time, okay.
I-
And I may have brought this up before, but I had forgotten.
Yeah.
So.
I did a calculation for the budget, and I like to be conservative with that. So we'll see how it comes out. The county settlement's being worked on right now, so we should have some answers on that in another month or two for you on these financials.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Are there any
Think
other
we're probably good.
questions?
Hearing no more questions, let's let the record show the financials were received and filed.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Moving on to item 7C, board member matrix. So, I don't hear anything. You guys are gonna be looking for a new chairman.
Can I address that?
Sure.
All right, so, yeah, we have two members, Zalat and Kikwam, so our illustrious chair, both terms ending 4/14. We have received, Board of Trustees have received both of their applications. And then with Cheryl Hunter stepping down, note that her expiration on that seat is in June. So any appointment that happens prior to that is done in June, and then possible reappointment, of course. So I just want to encourage, if you have somebody in mind, encourage them to apply. We do have one application for that now. A member that has served on the EDA before, Sarjeet Chowdhury. And typically the Board of Trustees has had I don't want to call it a policy, the practice of trying to keep the seats open as long as possible to encourage others to apply. And so we have a board meeting tomorrow night, and I don't know if the board will decide to want to try to fill those seats tomorrow night, or if we do have one more board meeting after that prior to those two terms being up, the April 14th, so the chairs and Zalats. So I can't tell you what the board's going to do tomorrow night is my point, but I expect that they may wait until the first meeting in April, which means if you have somebody that would like to serve on the EDA, do you know there are certain requirements we do have at large that are available? Do you know the makeup now?
I think we would need to have members that live in one of the districts at this point. I think we have, I think Cheryl, I believe Cheryl was an at-large member, I believe. But it would be best if we could to have members that are in the districts.
I may ask you that again tomorrow night if you're at the meeting.
Okay.
So thanks. I just wanted to clarify and also put out the ask that if you have somebody that's in the districts.
Oh, right on.
Can I mention one other thing? Kind
Sure.
of related to this. Only in the sense of all the boards are shown on the matrix. At the end of our agenda, it does mention the April 5th joint meeting. And so I'm speaking to our chair more than anything because responsibility lies on you to have something, right? So the general practice has been to talk about what the EDA has done in the past year and what you see forthcoming in the coming year. I think the other thing that's important to try to communicate to the Board of Trustees, and this is the reason we moved the joint meeting from August to this time of year, is the Board of Trustees will be going through a process of identifying budget and goals for the next calendar year. And it's called ends on the board, goals. But if there are priorities that the EDA sees that they want to lift up to the Board of Trustees, that's a great meeting for us to hear that. Because that's really what we want to hear from the other boards and where people are at, since we're all members of the community in the township. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thanks.
If you have anything you want me to specifically call out, let me know ahead of time, then, because I usually just kind of wing a speech.
Well, I'll let you know, this is me speaking, because I can't speak in the board's behalf on this item. But I was a big proponent of capturing in the east that new industrial area, because we need a lot of industrial properties, or we need more, I should say, industrial properties in the township. And so I was a big proponent of that. I will say, I think the board, I think I can speak for them on this, does find that as a priority as far as making sure we have industrial properties available.
Sure.
So if you want to speak to that at all,
Yeah.
I think that's important. Hopefully, I'm not misquoting the board's intentions on that.
No, that's good. That's one of our listed goals. So,
That comes to mind at least.
okay. So moving on to item 8, new business. Middle Michigan Development Corporation annual presentation. I know we touched on that last time. What do you got?
Well, I spoke with Mr. McBride just late last week, and he was excited about being here this evening. I had not heard from him, so I'm not sure why he's not here. But unfortunately, he's not, so we'll have to wait for that for another time.
Okay.
I think that helps out Jeff today.
Yeah, and you were going to ask him why we're not listed on the 2022 partners list on page 21?
I have actually deliberately not said anything about that so that you would have the opportunity to ask that. So please do.
Moving on to item 9, pending business. Anything there?
Nothing today.
Item 10, director comments.
Just a couple of things. I echo the invitation to attend the April 5th meeting. I certainly encourage all the members of the EDA board that can attend that meeting to come. It's an interesting opportunity to hear from all the boards and commissions together. And of course, you get to see, if you haven't been in the updated Jameson Hall, it's a good time to see that and see the updated Jameson Park as well. So April 5th at 7 o'clock. As I'm sure you've seen, may have enjoyed traffic backup. The M20 construction project is up and running. Our streetlights have disappeared. The park benches and planter barrels and such are next. I saw that they had stuff out to take care of the planters this morning. They're probably gone by now. So that is underway. That will continue to be a challenge for the rest of the summer, but we're going to see a lot more activity as over the next few weeks as the construction ramps up. But what you see right now is a whole lot of lines and cables and such being moved. Actually, a lot of activity related to fiber optic and such. Various companies running new lines outside of the right of way, and consumers running temporary lines in places so they can do the construction work. The other item, did I have another item? I guess actually, no, that was it. Those are the two items I had on my list. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anything about the Bandit purchasing Birch trucking property? Anything, if they come up with any?
Yeah,
Any long-term plans or anything that?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Actually, Bandit is planning on having an open house. I understand tentatively set for early April. I believe the 5th. I haven't received the final on that yet, but they're planning on having an open house to show off their facility. They are moving some component fabrication into that site on Enterprise Drive. And I'm excited to be a part of the township.
Also, I see right there, speaking of bandit property, our lift station project, I see some of the manhole structures came in, so that, I mean, those things are huge. That's a big project.
They are, yes, yep. So, we're still anticipating that construction for this year. I think they're still waiting on some of the components, but it's definitely getting close.
And then, other thing I had to mention to everybody here, remember we talked about the irrigation system in the East DDA with Thielen, Randy Shar. I was able to get a plan set from MDOT, and I did provide that to Randy, or he was supposed to pick it up today at my office. So he'll start studying that, and maybe we'll get a firmer game plan on our coordinated effort. So he should be on that, and we'll have something probably next meeting. So.
Sounds good.
I think that's, any more comments for the good of the order?
Thank you.
Hearing none, we'll call the meeting adjourned at 4:56. Thank you.
Thank you.